Ladies and gentlemen, we'll call this meeting to order on July the 18th, City Council meeting. I call order to Councilman Smiley for the invitation.
Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for everyone gathered here today and ask that you surround us with your powerful, life-changing presence. Thank you for loving each of us and for calling us to walk with you. We come before you as we meet and declare our dependence on you. Guide us to be good representatives of our citizens. Be a lamp unto our feet, a light unto our path. Fill our hearts with your love. Fill our words and conversations with truth and grace. We ask all of these things in praise and adoration of you. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Francis. Here. Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Councilmember Marsh.
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Here.
Councilmember Craig. Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Wilcox.
Here.
Councilmember Meek.
Here.
Councilmember Limburger. Here. Councilmember Keel.
Here.
Councilmember Bell. Councilmember Handy. And we have 9 present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 5 is awards and recognitions. Let me step around front here just a second. We have a happy day and we have a sad day here at the city. I have 5 people retiring. And I knew this coming in, taking this job, but it's very hard to fill the shoes of 20 plus years of knowledge in these individuals. Mr. Martin has handed it off to Ms. Clayton, and she has done an excellent job, and I hate to know the struggle she's done doing the classes she's had to do and trying to put up with me. And Mayor, you just got to stop and look at this. Yeah, it was a hard part for her. But Robert guided us through it and showed us through it. And he's worked very, very diligently for over 20 plus years here at the city. He was here when my mother was on council. And my mom thought the world of him, still thinks the world of him. And I'd like Mr. Robert Martin to come up front so I can give him a key to the city.
Oh, yeah. Make a pose.
The next person I'd like to talk about, just it won't take much. She's hard to beat. I have papers on my desk every morning just about, Mayor, you got to get this signed. Mayor, you forgot one. And Mayor, it's not legible sometimes, she's told me. This is going to Miss Chrissy Fletcher for everything she's done for us. For 27 years, she's been here. She's been here. Now, this gentleman, fixing to retire from us, and he told me he would give me to salute with. Tab Rockman is a man that's been very helpful. I talk to him at least once a week, if not more. And Tab has been very helpful. We do have Jefferson Starship. The Commodores were going to be here, and it's going to be his last day. Tab, would you come on down and grab your key from us, because you're hard to, Toby, I know you got your hands full, but I hope you got to learn to add like Tab does. That's the only thing I ask you.
Chrissy.
Robert, can I get you up on here? And while they're on their way here, Chief Clayton Sumner is not here. He's with his daughter. And Police is not here from the police department. They'll be back on next week, and I'll give them to them then. Thank y'all very much.
Robert, enjoy your retirement. Enjoy your retirement. You're
Oh,
gonna
you
work
ain't gonna
harder
get
now.
to reconsider now. Thank you. Oh, man. I figured there was, and I wasn't going there. Actually. Oh, man. Oh, mine's up. All righty. We'll move into section 6, public comments. If anyone from the public would like to come and speak at the microphone, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes at the microphone if anyone would like to come and speak.
Hello, my name is Katrina Jeffries. I live at 110 Josie Lane. I would like to speak about the ordinance, about the fines. I just want to say that we purchased a couple of months ago 120 properties that sits in the areas of Hopkinsville and those inner city areas. We purchased that with the plans to make those areas be safe for people to have a safe place to live. And I definitely understand after purchasing the properties, the need for the fines. But I think that when you have people that have come in to try to purchase properties, and we are fixing the properties up, but it's just gonna take time. We have purchased over 120 properties in those areas, and so they are being fixed. Year to date, we've spent over $60,000 making those upgrades needed, but it just takes a little bit of time. And when we are consistently getting fines for $400, and as you say, the fines can increase, that's money that takes away from us being able to fix those things that the tenants really need. But I do understand the fines, but I just think they could be excessive and it takes away. I encourage you all strongly to drive down College Street, to drive down Bryant Street, to look at some of the work that we're trying to do in the community and take those things into consideration. And lastly, I looked up some of the studies that you guys have done on the residents that live in those areas. Most of those people live below the poverty line. So a fine of $400 or $500 or $1,000 would seriously impact them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comments? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Buford Jeffries. I also reside at 110 Josie Lane. I am an investor along with my wife. We took over these properties. We got hit with a bunch of storms back in March. So to date, we've spent over $320,000 from January to July in repairs and renovations on properties. So as my wife said, I do encourage you to drive down those areas. But when we did our analysis, we did not expect to be met with so many obstacles so quickly. But we are working diligently to try to get through those. I've met with several of you. Individually, and I look to meet with you all to see what your plans are. I know that you are in the process of improving properties and things of that nature. We've done 7 properties in a little over 6 months, right? So if we continue that pace, 13, 14 years, those communities can be changed, but it's going to take all of us, not just our group, but it's going to take all of us working together as a group. And when we look at the fines, I see $400. I see a window that could be repaired. $1,000. I see a water heater that can be put into a property. To get a little more clearer, we've done more work in 6 months than the previous owner has probably done over the last 30 years.
Yes, sir.
And so we are willing to put our money where our mouth is, right? We just need some understanding on how we meet to make it a better community. 611 West 7th Street, a lady came to me and asked me, was I one of the property owners? And I said, yes. I went from being one of the property owners to the sole property owner. When the property was finished, she stood in awe because she had been living across the street for 30 years and no one had fixed up the property. When she went in the property, she asked because she looked, I said, yes, you may. She took her, I said, ma'am, it's not necessary. She said, yeah, I want to take my shoes off to appreciate the work that you've done. We are committed again to doing work in this community, but we need you guys to understand what we're doing, what we're up against, and the long-term goal that we're in. We understand that this is going to take time. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else from public comments would like to speak tonight? Yes.
Mayor, I'd just like to clarify these fines. We didn't get here overnight either. And for individuals like you that are working with those properties, I promise you we can work with you. But for those individuals that have walked away from this city and left those lots and those houses, the gig is up. They're in other cities cutting their grass and cleaning their properties. They don't care, so we don't care. The gig is up. We're going to clean up this town with or without them, but we can work with you.
Thank you, Troy. Any other public comments tonight? Anyone else would like to speak at the podium? All righty. Moving on, item 7, mayor's comments. Thank you, Robert, Chrissy, Tab. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I know you'll be glad I don't have to hear from a phone call from you once a week, because I did bother most of you all the time or have a question. Yes, Troy, I'm still going to bother you. But thank you all for your hard work and dedication in putting the city first. And that's what we're here to do. Other comments, Small Business Commission will meet tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 here in council chambers. If anyone would like to come and listen in, we're going to have our first meeting and moving forward on that. Storm debris, garbage pickup. A rough thing. It hit us again today. We cannot get a week, it seems like, or a month without a wind damage. Wind damage was over in Travis's ward, over on Springmont area, Deepwood area, and the rest of downtown with power lines down. HES has been working hard to put it back together, and so is PAYROLL on what they've been doing. Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with us. I have 4 knuckle boom trucks running from solid waste, 1 from Public Works. And just when I think I'm ahead and I got a little daylight, here comes the train again. So guess what? we got hit again tonight. The ladies in Cox Mill Estates and on Cox Mill Road will be burning my phone up again in the morning. I'm not mad about that. That is my job. But please bear with us about the storm debris, because it's got to be picked up and it has to be separated, because I have people cleaning out their garages. That goes in one part of the landfill, the trees go in another part of the landfill. So we have to make sure how we pick it up. So I'll ask again, please bear with us and we'll move forward on that. Summer Salute's coming up the 25th and 26th of August. I want everyone to come out and have a great time with us. Going to be a lot of fun. I hope everyone in the city comes out. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Good Lord's going to give us sunshine and warm days, hopefully. That's all I can ask for. But we'll figure that out when it gets here, won't we, Tab? All righty, that's all the mayor's comments. We'll go into reports from officers, committees, and guest speakers, and we go into our monthly financial on number 8 with Miss Melissa Clayton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure to bring you guys the June financial report, which closed our year out. We had one interfund transfer in the month of June for the amount of $1,500. That was to sponsor the Western Kentucky State Fair that was here. So total interfund transfers for the year was $95,047. So we left in the interfund $4,953 at the end of the year. Payroll tax. It's my pleasure to report to you guys that for the first time in this city's history, we have equivalent payroll of over $1 billion. So our equivalent payroll for the whole year was $1,013,851,538. Our year-to-date collections, $19,770,105. Which is an increase in our equivalent payroll of 9.5% for the year. So we had a very good payroll year. People have asked me, do you contribute that to some of the new folks coming in out of Ascend elements and all that? And my answer to that is yes. But wages are up in the city of Hopkinsville, and we've had a very good year with our payroll. Property taxes for the year. We ended the year with a collection of $5,211,392 with a budgeted amount of $4,989,000. So our property taxes came in over budget as well. And then our business licenses are up. In our cleanup budget amendment, we had adjusted our business license to $2,550,000, and we surpassed that, which I was very surprised. I thought $2,550,000 was going to cover it, but it was even greater than what I had anticipated. So we ended our business license revenue for the year of $2,605,206. So let's talk about the general fund. General fund, we started the year with $143,000 worth of encumbrances. Our total collected revenue was $47,531,743. We had actual expenses of $44,344,376, and that includes $3,543,515 that got transferred to other funds, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So we had revenue over expenses of $3,331,252. We ended the year with encumbrances of $256,251, money we brought into this year for things that we'll need to pay, which gave us our revenue over expenses of $3,075,001. So what happens to that revenue over expenses? In our financial handbook, it was addressed in 2021 when we passed it that certain amounts would go to certain funds whenever we had revenue over expenses. So 50% of that is going to go into the capital equipment replacement reserve, 10% is going to go into the economic development reserve, 10% is going to go into the pension reserve, and 5% is going to go into the health trust reserve. So that $3,075,001 is going to be split up. $1,537,000 is going to go into your capital 307,500 is going to go into economic development. Pension, 307,500. The health trust fund is going to get an additional 153,750, and that leaves in our general reserve $768,750. I will tell you that the admin team is going to bring a recommendation at the August Committee of the Whole to change these percentages a little bit, so we'll be discussing that in August. If you guys have questions about that, I'll be happy to answer them. Our municipal road aid, we started the year with $358,000 in encumbrances. We collected $688,117, and we had year-to-date expenses of $632,408, which left revenue over expenses of $413,886. We had encumbrances at the end of the year at $353,291, which gave us revenue over expenses and encumbrance of $60,595. Our capital fund, we started the year with $2,023,230. And if you guys will remember, who were here last year, we had a lot of equipment, vehicles that had been ordered that hadn't come in. We collected year-to-date in capital $2,248,228, and we had actual expenses of $3,876,969. So our revenue over expenses in capital was $394,000. So not only did all of the cars we had ordered come in, but all of the ones we had ordered in 22, 23 actually pretty much came in as well. We did end the year with $409,976 in encumbrances coming into this year, which means that we spent $15,487 out of prior year capital reserve to cover 22, 23 expenses. So as far as departments go, everybody ended under budget. Admin came in at 95.5, tax came in at 96.3, information technology came in at 95.3, legislative came in at 96.3. Our public safety, police department came in at 94.4, ECC came in at 94.3, fire department came in at 97.0, and EMS came in at 98.9. In Public Works admin came in at 97%, city maintenance came in at 91.1, Fort Campbell came in at 80.1, Service Center came in at 93.7, Parks and Rec came in at 98.4, Sportsplex came in at 93.2, and the Aquatic Center came in at 99.1. So total general fund, we came in at 95% of our expenses. What we had budgeted was $46 million. What we spent was $44 million, so we came in at 95%. MRA, what was budgeted was $1,063,177, and the year-to-date expenses was $632, so that came in at 64.2. And then the capital fund budget was $42.99, and it came in at $3,876,969 at 90.2%. So our general fund cash balance, we started the year, this year, 22-23, with $11,971,597, plus our year-to-date receipts of $47 million. I've already said that number a bunch. Our year-to-date expenses of $44 million. Cash balance as of June 30th, 2023 was $15,158,974, less our encumbrances, gave us our available cash June 30th of $14,902,723. The available cash in May was $16,857,000. So here's where the reserve accounts come into play. So our available cash June 30th was $14,902,723, less the capital equipment replacement of $964,113, less the body camera reserve of $214,865, less the future pension obligations of $894. We get unassigned cash fund balance of $12,829,251. And comparing that to our adjusted operating budget, we have our percentage of unassigned at 34.5%. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have about how we did or how we ended the year. Do you have any questions for me?
I do.
All right, you do?
I'm going back on what you said the budget was. You said the budget was 46 million for 2022-23 year?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we budgeted for?
That's the adjusted budget after we had passed budget amendments throughout the year. So
Okay.
after we did the fourth budget amendment, that was what we had budgeted.
Okay, but the original budget was?
I don't have that number in front of me. It was around 43 million.
About 43?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Clayton. Appreciate that. All right. We get to move into item 9, ordinances. You ready? Okay. Ordinance 22-2023, curbside recycling, second reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93.06 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances relating to curbside recycling. Whereas City Council recognizes the importance of curbside recycling and wishes to clarify the obligations of the Hopkinsville Solid Waste Enterprise relating thereto. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 93.06 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 93.06 Curbside Recycling. The City of Hopkinsville hereby establishes curbside recycling program which shall be governed by the following rules and regulations. A, curbside recycling is voluntary and customers must register to receive a recycling container. B, a monthly fee of $5.50 per customer is established and will appear on the same statement as the customer's garbage collection billing statement. In the event the customer does not receive a garbage collection billing statement, the enterprise shall send the curbside recycling statement direct to the customer. C, curbside recycling is available for both commercial and residential customers. D, collection will occur the same day as the customer's residential garbage and trash collection. E, customers are required to comply with 93.02B2 regarding customer responsibilities. F, accepted materials must be placed in the designated containers and set out together with residential containers at the designated collection point no earlier than the day prior to the day of collection by the enterprise. G, the program is a single stream program requiring no sorting of accepted items. 1, accepted items include paper, steel cans, aluminum cans, pasteboard, number 1 through number 5 plastics and cardboard. Number 2, electronics, batteries, household and medical hazardous waste, styrofoam, waste oil, tires, glass, hazardous and toxic refuse shall not be placed in the recycling container. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. And Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
Need a motion?
Second.
Terry and Jamie? Any discussion? Seeing none, I ask clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox?
Yes.
Councilmember Meek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lineberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree?
Yes.
And Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on second reading.
All righty. Ordinance 23-2023, alley closing between East 15th and East 16th Street, second reading.
An ordinance closing an unnamed alley between East 15th and East 16th Streets in the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, pursuant to KRS 82.405, this section identifies the property owners abutting the portions of the alley to be closed as Jeff White and Planters Bank Incorporated. It further acknowledges the abutting property owners were given written notice of the proposed closing and the property owners gave written notarized consent to the alley closing. A copy of the consents is attached to the full ordinance the full text of this ordinance as Exhibit A and incorporated therein by reference. Section 2, this section states the 10-foot wide alley running parallel to South Virginia Street and extending 167.73 feet from East 15th Street to East 16th Street, consisting of approximately 1,655 square feet, 0.38 acres, is hereby closed forever as a public way. A copy of Exhibit B, more particularly describing the alley to be closed, is attached here too. This section further lists restrictions and/or conditions under which the alley is to be closed. The full text of this ordinance is on file in the office of the undersigned city clerk of the City of Hopkinsville at 715 South Virginia Street, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, where it is available for public inspection between the hours of 8 o'clock a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I got Travis and I've got Terry. What, either one of you, Steve, it doesn't matter. One of you said it. All righty. Got any discussion on this alleyway? Seeing none, I call on the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox?
Yes.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
and that passes on second reading.
All right, thank you. We go to ordinance 24-2023, Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board Fines and Schedule, second reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 33.192 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances pertaining to Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board fines. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 33.192 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 33.192 Ordinance Fine Schedule. Violations of ordinances that are enforced by the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board shall be subject to the following schedule of civil fines. A, if a citation for a violation of an ordinance is not contested by the person charged with the violation, the penalties set forth in this division shall apply. Violation, stormwater utility, first offense, $50, second offense, $150, all other, $250. Illicit discharge detection and elimination, first $150, second $300, all other $500. Erosion prevention and sediment control, first $100, second $300, all other $500. Traffic code, first 15, second 25, all other 50. Pedestrian and traffic safety, first 50, second 100, all other 150. Animals, first 25, second 50, all other 100. Garbage, commercial refuse, and trash collection, first 200, second 300, all other 500. Property standards, all acreage calculations shall be based on PVA records. Fines for neglected properties as defined in 93.01 will be doubled. First offense, a minimum of 200 or 10 per acre, whichever is greater, not to exceed 300. Second, a minimum of 300 or 15 per acre, whichever is greater, not to exceed 400. All other, a minimum of 500 or 15 per acre, whichever is greater, not to exceed 500. Smoking regulations, first 50, second 75, all 150, all other. Junked or abandoned vehicles, first 200, second 300, all other 500. Noise, first 200, second 300, all other 500. Parks, playgrounds, and recreation areas, first 50, second 75, all other 150. False alarm, first 50, second 60, all other 70. Streets and sidewalks, first 100, second 200, all other 300. Right of way, first 150, second 250, all other 350. Cable, 100.2, 100.04, 100.20, 100.33, 100.35, and 100.39. First 50, second 1,000, all other 5,000. Cable, 100.03, 100.05, 100.06, 100.36, 100.37, 100.38, 100.40. First 100, second 500, all other 1,000. Stormwater flood control. First 150, second 250, all other 350. Zoning. First 200, second 300, all other 500. Property maintenance code. First 350, second 500, all other 750. Post-construction water quality. First 150, second 300, all other 500. B, if the citation is contested and a hearing before the code board is required, the following maximum penalties may be imposed at the discretion of the code board, not to be less than 50% of the penalty for the listed offense. Violation, stormwater utility, first 100, second 300, all other 500. Illicit discharge detection and elimination, first 300, second 400, all other 500. Erosion prevention and sediment control, first 200, second 400, all other 500. Traffic code, first 30, second 50, all other 100. Pedestrian and traffic safety, first 100, second 200, all other 300. Animals, first offense, 100, second 200, all other 300. Garbage, trash, and weeds. Fines for neglected properties as defined in 93.01 will be doubled. First 400, second 600, all other 1,000. Smoking regulations, first 100, second 150, all other 300. Junked or abandoned vehicles, first 400, second 600, all other 1,000. Noise, first 400, second 600, all other 1,000. Parks, playgrounds, and recreation areas, first 100, second 150, all other 300. False alarm, first 80, second 90, all other 100. Streets and sidewalks, first 300, second 400, all other 500. Right of way, first 300, second 400, all other 500. Cable, 100.02, 100.04, 100.20, 100.33, 100.35, and 100.39. First 1,000, second 2,000, all other 10,000. Cable, 100.03, 100.05, 100.06, 100.36, 100.37, 100.38, 100.40. First 200, second 1,000, all other 2,000. Stormwater flood control. First 300, second 500, all other 600. Zoning. First 400, second 600, all other 1,000. Property maintenance code. First 700, second 1,000, all other 1,500. Post-construction water quality. First 300, second 400, all other 500. C, there shall be an administrative fee of $100 on any uncontested citation and $200 on any contested citation acted on by the code board. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. And Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
Righty. Need a motion.
So move.
Steve, Jamie. All right. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Wanted to ask you a question.
Tom?
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing today?
Very well. Yes, ma'am.
Good, good. I just wanted to find out, can you give me a number or an average number of how many fines is in Ward 1 at this time?
I can get you that number, but I don't have it right in front of me,
Email
so
it.
I would hazard to guess.
You gonna email?
Say again?
You'll email it?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
I
Now-
surely would appreciate it. Thank
Yes,
you so
ma'am.
much. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All righty. Seeing none, we'll call the clerk to roll.
Councilmember Wilcox,
Yes.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Abstain.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on second reading.
Thank you. Ordinance 25-2023, garbage, trash, and weed penalty, second reading. That'll be back to you.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances relating to garbage, trash, and weed fines. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 93.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 93.99 penalty. A, the provisions of this chapter may be enforced by the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board established in 33.180 et sec, or in the alternative, the Christian County District Court as a misdemeanor and/or violation. The decision on where the ordinance will be enforced shall be at the city's discretion. B, any owner who fails to properly cure or remedy a violation within the time prescribed by either the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board or the Christian County District Court shall be subject to a fine. A first offense shall result in a fine not greater than $400. A second offense shall result in a fine not greater than $600. All other offenses shall result in a fine not greater than $1,000. If enforcing through district court, each day that a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. C, fines for neglected properties as defined in 93.01 will be doubled. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
I need a motion.
So
please.
move.
To Steve and Terry. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Seeing no discussion, I call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox,
Yes.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Abstain.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on second reading.
Item E, ordinance 26-2023, junked and abandoned vehicles, penalty, second reading. And call Ms. Brittany.
An ordinance amending Chapter 95.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances relating to junked or abandoned vehicle fines. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 95.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 95.99 penalty. A, the provisions of this chapter may be enforced by the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board established in 33.180 or in the alternative, the Christian County District Court as a violation. The decision on where the ordinance will be enforced shall be at the city's discretion. B, any person violating any provisions of this chapter shall be charged with a violation in the event this chapter is enforced through the Christian County District Court or Code Enforcement Board. If charged and enforced through the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board or Christian County District Court, the offense shall be a civil offense. A first offense under this chapter shall result in a fine of not greater than $400. A second offense shall result in a fine of not greater than $600. All other offenses shall result in a fine of not greater than $1,000. Each day that a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
All right, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Jamie and Travis, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox,
Yes.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lineberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Abstain.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
and Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that passes on second reading.
Okay. Ordinance 27-2023, noise penalty on second reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 96.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances relating to noise fines. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 96.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 96.99 penalty. A, the provisions of this chapter may be enforced by the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board established in 33.180 et sec. Or in the alternative, the Christian County District Court. The decision on where the ordinance will be enforced shall be at the city's discretion. B, any person violating any of the provisions of this chapter shall be charged with a misdemeanor and/or violation in the event this chapter is enforced through the Christian County District Court. If charged and enforced through the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board created in 33.180 et sec, the offense shall be a civil offense. A first offense shall result in a fine not greater than $400. A second offense shall result in a fine not greater than $600. All other offenses shall result in a fine not greater than $1,000. Each day that a violation continues shall constitute separate offense. C, this chapter and the foregoing penalties shall not be construed to limit or deny the right of the city or any person to such equitable legal remedies as may be available by law. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. And Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
All right, need a motion?
Motion.
Don Marsh, Jamie. All right, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call on you to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox,
Yes.
Councilmember Meek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lineberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Abstain.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that does pass on second reading.
Thank you. Ordinance 28-2023, basic property maintenance code penalties, second reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 163.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances relating to basic property maintenance code fines. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, Section 163.99 of the Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances is hereby amended as follows. 163.99 Penalty Enforcement. A, the provisions of this chapter may be enforced by the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board established in 33.180 through 33.196 or in the in the alternative, the Christian County District Court as a misdemeanor and/or violation. The decision on whether enforcement shall take place with the Code Enforcement Board or the Christian County District Court shall be at the city's discretion. B, any person who violates any provision of this chapter shall be guilty of a violation and shall be subject to a fine. A first offense under this chapter shall result in a fine of not greater than $700. A second offense shall result in a fine of not greater than $1,000. All other offenses shall result in a fine of not greater than $1,500. Each day that a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. Section 2. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3. Any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4. This ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
I need a motion on that.
Motion.
Ms. Jamie?
Second.
And Mr. Steve. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox?
Yes.
Councilmember Meek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Abstain.
Councilmember Smiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree?
Yes.
And Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
And that passes on second reading.
Thank you. Ordinance 29-2023, Casey White, Heritage Place and Fenton Addition subdivision, zoning first reading.
Amending the zoning maps of the city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, properties located in Casey White Heritage Place and Fenton Addition subdivisions. Whereas Community and Development Services initiated a zoning map amendment by Resolution 2023-03 to assign the original zoning designation of R3 1 and 2 family residential district to properties located in Casey White Heritage Place and Fenton Addition subdivisions. And whereas Community and Development Services made favorable recommendation at their June 26, 2023 meeting for City Council to approve original zoning application R23-6-1. And whereas City Council concurs, said recommendation is in agreement with the Hopkinsville Christian County Comprehensive Plan, and significant physical, social, and economic changes have occurred warranting the zoning of the properties. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Hopkinsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, pursuant to KRS 100.211, Hopkinsville Code of Ordinances, Community and Development Services Resolution 2023-03, and recommendation dated June 26, 2023, the properties listed on Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein, and as further described on Exhibit B attached hereto and incorporated herein, are hereby zoned R3 1 and 2 family residential district. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is held unconstitutional or otherwise invalid, such infirmity shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 3, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law.
I do need a motion.
Second.
Got Terry and Jamie right there. If my hearing aids caught me right. We got any discussion on this? All right, no discussion. I'll call the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcox?
Yes.
Councilmember Meek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lumberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Crabtree?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
And that passes on first reading.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brittany. Item 10, other. Does the council have anything under other they'd like to discuss tonight? Seeing none, we'll go into item 11, councilman comments.
Good evening, Mayor.
All right,
How are you today?
doing great.
Good, good. I'd like to say on behalf of Matthew Handy for Ward 12, he asked me to mention that to everyone that he's in Louisville at a teachers conference. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Marsh?
I don't have a comment. I was just wondering I was waiting to hear if someone was going to say something about the committee of the whole meeting being canceled, not necessary to do that. Okay, good enough?
Yes. All righty. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, I call on Ward 2, Mr. Smiley, to adjourn us.
Okay, I have a quote tonight from, since it's baseball season. I got a quote from Bullet Bob Feller He's a Hall of Famer from the Cleveland Indians. And he had this quote: "Every day is a new opportunity. You can build on yesterday's success or put its failures behind and start over again. That's the way life is, with a new game every day, and that's the way baseball is." I'd like to change that a little bit and say that that's the way life is, with a new challenge every day, and that's the way life is.
All right, I'd like to take a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Got a motion, got a second? We are adjourned. Thank you.